Guardian Angel, an Angelica Dale mystery by P.K. Armstrong. Chapter 20. There's been a shooting. Angel heard the words in her ear, but since she was still sleeping, she wasn't sure what it had to do with her. She responded on a yawn. And am I supposed to be concerned with the shooter or the victim? She asked Roland. To be most accurate, you should be concerned with both. Angel heard Roland shuffling papers. On Thursday at 9:07 a.m., John Meadows of 1987 Ivy Glen Road was arrested for attempted murder on one Simon Rain. Angel sat up in bed, fully awake now. Get out! Is it your case? No, it was on the board this morning. I spoke with the lead detective. Apparently, John Meadows arrived at the offices of Simon Rain, loitered around, pacing back and forth in front of the offices. When Simon Rain exited, he yelled his name and fired 2.38 rounds, one into the plate glass window and the other one into Simon Rain. Unbelievable. Was he interviewed? Angel asked incredulously. No, but once I explained Simon Rain's connection to my case, Detective Gibbons graciously offered to let me sit in on the interview. Before you do, I think there's some information about Simon Rain and John Meadows you need to know. What information? Angel sighed. Dee Dee, the little girl responsible for the thefts at Sinclair Academy, is Deidre Meadows. She is actually the result of a previous relationship between John Meadows' wife, Denise Meadows, and Simon Rain. From what I can tell, Denise changed the little girl's surname, but she was never adopted by John Meadows, so a new birth certificate was never issued. Wow, what a backstory. Roland was thoughtful for a moment. I can see why John Meadows tried to shoot Rain, especially if he just found out his daughter wasn't his, but... But what? I can't see the connection between Denise Meadows, Simon Rain, the vandalism, and the attack on Violet. Angel silently agreed. Maybe you will fill in the missing piece when you interview John Meadows. When Roland sat down next to Detective Gibbons in front of John Meadows, he wasn't surprised by what he saw. John Meadows, CPA, age 42, Caucasian, disheveled, and the beginning of a beard due to the fact they waited until evening to interview him. He was calm for a novice. He had no police record, not even a parking ticket. Detective Gibbons was staring at John Meadows intently, without a word. A normal person would have become uncomfortable in the silence. Roland watched as Meadows sat back in his chair and waited. He seemed resigned to something. His fate, perhaps? Or was he just devoid of regret? It was a full minute before Gibbons spoke. He must have really deserved it. It was a statement, not a question. Meadows leaned forward and looked at Gibbons directly in the eye. He glanced briefly at Roland as if expecting him to speak. When he didn't, he looked back at Gibbons. How do you know whether he deserved anything or not? Detective Gibbons spoke quietly but with conviction. John, you don't even have a speeding ticket. You've spent your entire life following the rules. Somewhere, at some point, someone taught you what it means to be a man, and that's what you are, a man. You work hard and take care of your own. Simon Rain, John Meadows interrupted him, slamming his open hand on the worn table in interview room number 4. Don't say his name. The interview room became quiet once again. After a minute, it was John Meadows who broke the silence. You have no idea what kind of man he really is, he said quietly. And then on a whisper, he threatened my wife. He's evil. Roland pushed one of the bottles of water he brought with him within Meadows' reach. Meadows hesitated briefly and then grabbed the water and drank deeply. Start from the beginning, Roland encouraged. Meadows sighed. Tears wetted his eyes and he began rubbing his temples. Leaning forward, he rested his arms on the table and began clasping and unclasping his hands as he spoke. My wife, Denise, knew Simon Rain 10 years ago. She was a lot younger than him. She and her friends used to party a lot, and Simon Rain owned a club back then. He would let them come in even though they were underage. He paid her a lot of attention. They dated. They He broke off, trying to get a hold of his emotions. I worked for him 8 years ago. It was only for a few months. I met my wife at a cafe near his office. We started going out. I didn't know she was dating Simon Rain at the time, at least not at first. He paused, not sure of where to go next with his story, and took another sip of water. You said he threatened your wife. Was this recently? Gibbons prompted. Yes. Simon Rain called her, and she met him without me knowing. She told me later. When I got home, she was upset. She said Simon Rain told her the cops were poking their noses in his business, his properties. That's what she used to do for him, property management. Anyway, he told her if she didn't keep her mouth shut, he would tell me the truth about my daughter, Deidre. John Meadows' last words ended on a sob. Detective Gibbons glanced at Roland. Roland decided it may be easier to help fill in some of the details to give Meadows a chance to get himself together. Deidre, what is she, 12? She goes to Sinclair Academy, right? John Meadows expressed a little surprise Roland knew about his daughter. He nodded. My wife, she was pregnant when we married. I thought Deidre was mine. She admitted to me the other night that she isn't. She wanted to tell you before Simon Rain had a chance to. Detective Gibbons was a quick study. What exactly did Simon Rain want her to keep her mouth shut about? Denise had a friend, some slacker. He would pretty much do anything for a quick buck. I think she introduced him to Simon Rain, and he started performing odd jobs for him, jobs that no one else would do. You mean illegal jobs, Gibbons stated. John Meadows nodded his head. Roland remembered the vandalism perpetrated by Simon Rain and took a stab in the dark. You mean Denise would contact her friend when Simon needed pressure put on a building owner? Small fires, broken appliances, electrical or plumbing accidents? Once again, John Meadows looked at him in surprise. Yes. She said that Simon said he would say it was all her idea, and since she was the one who introduced them, it would be easy to get the police to believe that she was the one who ordered her friend to do the jobs. She was so terrified by the time I got home that it only took a little push for her to tell me the whole story. I was angry that he would put her through that and threaten my family. I lost it. I grabbed my gun and went to look for him. John Meadows was a broken man. He sat hunched over with his head hung so low it almost rested on his arms, that he had partially spread out on the interview table. Please, I know it was wrong. I shouldn't have shot at him, but you have to protect my family. You love your wife and her daughter, Roland said softly. She's my daughter. John Meadows came alive, shouting and pounding the table. I don't care what any paper or anybody says. Dee Dee is my little girl. She always will be. With that said, John Meadows' head dropped to the table, and he began slowly weeping. Gibbons got up to retrieve a box of tissues, and Roland sat watching John sob until he started to gain some control over his emotions. We're going to try to help you, John. I promise we will do what we can. But I have one more question. Did Denise tell you the name of her friend? John Meadows thought for a moment, chewing his lip. Roland could see he was running over the conversation in his head. Evan something or other. Angel placed the phone down slowly. Still thinking of the information provided by Detective Christopher Roland, he was able to confirm Simon Rain's involvement in vandalism with Cynthia Denise Meadows. Thankfully, Simon Rain wasn't dead, but John Meadows would be charged with attempted murder. Maybe the reduced charges of brandishing a weapon and aggravated assault. She was glad she stumbled upon Denise and Dee Dee, but she was worried that their current situation would distress Mrs. Blythe. Honestly, she wasn't worried about them. John Meadows was no threat to them. He had reacted out of anger and despair. She decided to make the call. I found her. I found them both, actually. Angel jumped right in when Mrs. Blythe answered the phone. Angel heard Mrs. Blythe's sharp intake of air. She thought she was probably already building anticipation, so she decided it would be best to nip it in the bud. You must know that after I have spoken with her, Denise may not wish to meet with you. Just let me talk to her. If she doesn't want to talk, I promise I'll walk away, Mrs. Blythe pleaded. That's not very likely, is it? Mrs. Blythe acquiesced with a ladylike snort. I suppose if I'm honest, no, not likely. I can promise you I will plead your case for you. If she refuses to meet, with your permission, I will provide her with your contact information and encourage her to reach out whenever she is ready. Mrs. Blythe sighed loudly. I guess I have no choice.